All right, welcome back. Unit 1, Lesson 3, Part 2. This is page 2 in your notebooks. We're going to continue solving one-step equations. Again, page 2 here. Okay, first thing we're going to look at here is we finished off the last video with subtraction, and we're going to continue today with addition, the property of equality for addition. And it states that two sides of an equation will be equal when you add the same number to both sides. And that means that if I do A plus C, that will equal B plus C. And again, A plus B equals B plus C. Those should be balanced. A should equal B. Let's look at an example. So last one we showed we had subtracting from both sides, and this time we're going to do the opposite. If we're subtracting 8 from this side, we want to get the variable by itself, we need to use addition by adding 8 to both sides. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side, and you're trying to get the variable by itself. And we know that negative 8 plus 8 should always equal 0. We're getting rid of that negative 8, and then we just drop the variable down. In this case, it's a q. And that equals 9 plus 8 is 17. Let's check it out. Let's take this q equals 17 and substitute it back into the original equation. We have 17 instead of q minus 8. And we want to know, does that equal 9? Well, what's 17 minus 8? That equals 9. 9 equals 9. It is true. So we know that q equals 17 is a solution to the equation. Your turn. Pause the video. Do this equation over here on your own. When you're done, unpause and come on back. Let's solve. First part, draw your line down to separate your two sides. And we are trying to get the variable by itself. In this case, our variable is c. So we want to get rid of this negative 6. And to get rid of the negative 6, we have to use a positive 6. I'm going to add 6 to both sides of the equation. And we know that these cancel out. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0. We're going to drop our variable straight down. Negative 7 plus 6 is negative 1. Let's check to see if it worked. Substitute back in. Negative 7 equals, instead of c, we're using the value of c, negative 1 minus 6. Negative 1 minus 6, we know, is negative 7. So does negative 7 equal negative 7? It does. So just so we're aware, this is a check part. If in this part of the problem, on this side, I didn't get negative 7, that means I did something wrong. And so I need to go back and check my work up here. Because if this side doesn't equal negative 7, that can't be a solution to this equation. Let's keep going. Our next one is the division property of equality. And division means divide. And it states that two sides of an equation will remain equal when you divide both sides by the same number. Okay, we did addition, we did subtraction, now we're going to do division. Do the same thing. We're going to draw your line down. Well, now we have 16 equals 0.25 times n. If there's nothing in between there, that means we're using multiplication. That's a coefficient. So to get rid of that, what's the opposite of multiplication? Well, the opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide this by 0.25. And I'm going to also, since I have to do it to the same thing to both sides, I'm going to divide that side by 0.25. And if you don't know, anytime we divide a number by itself, 4 over 4 equals 1. Anytime you divide a number by itself, it just equals 1. So 0.25 divided by 0.25 we're just going to cancel out. It's going to equal 1. And we said that would be 1n, but we don't have to write the 1. It's invisible. So all we say that in this case is that that's just going to equal n. And now the variable is by itself. Well, what's 16 divided by 0.25? If you don't know, bust out your calculator. 16 divided by 0.25 ends up being 64. Now I want to see, does n equal 64? Is that a solution to our problem? Well, let's plug it in. Use our substitution. We want to know, does 16 equal 0.25? And now I can't just write the number. I got to use at least a parentheses times 64. Does 0.25 times 64 equal 16? Well, let's find out. If you bust out your calculator, 16 equals, hopefully you checked, it does equal 16, so it works. N equals 64 is a solution to our original equation. Again, pause now. This is you do part. Check to see if you can figure out the answer on this one. And then come on back after you are done and check to see if you got the right answer. What do we do first? We need to get rid of anything next to the variable. Our variable is p, so we need to get rid of negative 2.8. And that's negative 2.8 times p. Let's get rid of that. So since we're multiplying, we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to divide. We're going to divide both sides by negative 2.8. Remember, same number on top and bottom. They just cancel out. It's just 1, so we're left with p. Well, what's 4.2 divided by negative 2.8? Well, I'm dividing by a negative, so I know it's negative. 4.2 divided by 2.8 is negative 1.5. Let's check to see how we did. Negative 2.8. Substitute for p, negative 1.5. We want to know, does that equal 4.2? You bust out your calculator if you want. A negative times a negative is a positive. So far on the right path. I will tell you that it does indeed equal 4.2. So you know that your answer of p equals negative 1.5 is the right answer. And that's it for part 2 of our video. Come back for part 3. Again, if you have any questions, great time to send out a message. Let me